23 race was the one race that was really a microcosm of the national debate. The other races in Jersey and in Virginia were really state races, very much focused on state issues. In Jersey, it was very much focused on Governor Corzine. But in New York 23, the issues that we're discussing every day in Washington were very much on the ballot.
Well, here are the big winners of the races that we focused on the most. Chris Christie, New Jersey, Bob McDonnell in Virginia, and as you hear there, the Democrat Bill Owens in New York Congressional District 23. How does that translate to the president? Here's the latest Gallup approval rating polls. At 50% approve, 43% disapprove. This is the latest today. And what does this election mean for this White House? Let's bring in our panel. Fred Barnes, executive editor of the Weekly Standard. Mara Liasson, national political correspondent of National Public Radio, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. Fred, it's not a surprise that the White House wants to hang a hat on New York 23.
I know, because the Democrat won. You know, I've known David Axelrod for a long time. He was a great reporter. He covered City Hall for the Chicago Tribune. He knows better. But, you know, now his job is to spin because something quite different happened. Charles talked about it last night, in fact, and that is that the Obama star is expiring. The margin that he brought to the Democratic Party and to their other candidates is gone completely. And just think if John Corzine had been reelected governor of New Jersey, and he lost by, what, 4 points. If he'd been reelected, David Axelrod would be there claiming credit for the president, because the president did spend a lot of time with Corzine. Sunday, 2 events, and Corzine really wrapped himself all around the president, and it didn't help. And Creed Deeds in Virginia did a little of that too, and it may have hurt in Virginia, which is one of the reasons why Deeds had such an on-again, off-again relationship with the president. But here, there are a couple things that happened, and one big one, and that is that the Republican Party turns out to be a competitive party now, which we didn't think was true 5, 6 months ago, 3 months ago. And why is it? Why has the Republican Party come back? Really for one reason. They've attracted independents and suburban voters. Those are the ones who've been drifting away in the last couple of elections. There are tens of millions of them, and Republicans won them overwhelmingly in New Jersey and in Virginia. And if they can hold on to them, you know, Republicans, independents, plus, you know, the Tea Party people who I think voted for the Republicans in Virginia anyway, it's a majority coalition. Now, there are a lot of internal tensions, but you can see the outlines of that coalition.
Mara, the independent number in New Jersey was 58% in New Jersey and 63% for the Republicans in Virginia. That is a number that the White House has to be looking at.
That is a big change. There's no doubt that these races can be overanalyzed, but there is so much in these races, lessons for both parties. Barack Obama's coalition was built on independents plus all these new voters he brought in, like African Americans and younger voters. Those voters, the African Americans and the younger voters, basically didn't turn out, but the independent voters broke the other way this time. And for at least the last 2 election cycles, they've been acting like Democrats. Well, this time they acted like Republicans. That has to worry the White House, and they have to think about what are they going to do to get independents back in 2010 and then in 2012. I do think that of the 2 governors' races, New Jersey probably had the least to do with President Obama. It was all about Corzine. But Virginia, I think, is a real model for Republicans as they look forward to how to win statewide races in swing states. Bob McDonnell is a committed social conservative, but he ran. He had a moderate style. He was very mainstream. He talked about transportation, jobs, and education, all things that suburban voters, independent voters in Virginia care about. And he kept his base, and he reached out. That is almost the exact mirror of the model that Democrats have used in the past to win in these same kinds of states.
Charles, you look at the exit polls, and the people said coming out that President Obama didn't factor into their vote directly. However, for conservative, moderate Democrats in the House who look to the election next year, how does this election translate for them?
It scares the hell out of them, because if you're a conservative Democrat and you see the great swing between 08 and 09, you know that this idea that you could ride the coattails of Obama, there was a great realignment last year, is false. And they are now extremely exposed. There was, for example, in Virginia, the second most important issue, as reported in the exit polls, was health care. Now, you didn't have a debate about state health care. It was about national health care, because Virginia is in the D.C., media market, so all this debate spills over. About a quarter of the electorate had it as their most important issue, so it clearly affected this election. It was in many ways a national election. In the end, I think what happened yesterday is that it completely demolished the myth about the meaning of the 2008 election. It had been read endlessly by the mainstream media and by Democrats as a great realignment. All these constituencies that Mara had talked about, this was going to be, the Republicans were going to become a rump party of the Deep South and angry white men. And now we see that the youth vote was cut in half this time as compared to 2008, and Virginia decline of the African-American vote by about a fifth. And again, as we heard, independents, a huge swing. Obama had gotten a slight edge in Virginia in independents. Yesterday, there was about a 30-point swing in favor of Republicans. So all these elements of the great new constituency and the great new FDR-like coalition disappeared, which means that 2008 was an anomalous election. It was not a trend. It was not a new era. It was a one-shot, one-off election where all the stars were aligned in the Democratic favor, and you had a charismatic candidate and the first African-American who ascended to the presidency. 2008 was an anomaly. 2009 is the norm.
Fred, we talked about it yesterday. 49 congressional